Okay, another demo which I think is neat, and we can talk about structure at kind of a larger scale, is a demo in which we use a glass rod, the gas, gloves, glasses, in order to pull a glass fiber. So these glass rods, these are, they're hollow, which makes it a lot easier to melt them. They're being stored in this box. They've got paper and a rubber band around them. We want to try to keep them from breaking as best we can. And I've got, whatever, I think 20 of these. So what we want to emphasize here is the difference between structure in shape and structure in surface. So here we go. So this is a glass rod. It's just a stir rod from, a chemistry kit, and you can see it's actually pretty rigid. You can imagine it's just like the glass window you have. But I want to show you something really neat about glass, because if I were to tell you that I'm going to take this glass and I'm going to bend it around on itself, you'd say that's crazy, because as soon as you bend it, it's going to break. But watch this. I'm going to turn on the gas. Got my safety glasses on. And I got some welder gloves. And I'm going to take this glass rod and I'm going to warm it up. Becoming soft. Might be helpful to twist it around a little bit in order to get a glob of glass together. And you pull it out of the fire, and you're going to pull a fiber in one quick continuous piece, okay? There. Now, if you can get away from the torch. The torch is a bit of a hassle where I'm at right now. And actually, the glass is still cool, so maybe you don't need the gloves. So look at this glass wire. Sorry, glass wire, glass fiber. I pulled a glass fiber, and look at that. It can twist all the way. Look at it. It can twist so far. Let's break this off. It's a little easier for us to handle, right? I can take this, and I can even tie a knot in it. It's a glass fiber. So this is also a demonstration of structure, because glass, when it's thick, you can't bend. When it's thin, you can. That's one part of the structure. And I think that might be a little surprising to some of you. But another element of structure has to do with the fact that the reason you can bend this is because the surface is defect-free. I just melted it, and I pulled it, and when I pulled it, I made a surface which is brand new. This glass here, this glass has been sitting in the environment, and what do we have in the air? Water. Glass dissolves in water. I know, it's very slow. It's very slow, but glass, the glass in your windows, your glasses, it corrodes in water. And on this surface, there's a lot of little microscopic, again, a little bit smaller than a human hair, scratches. And that serves as an origin for embrittlement. So if you can take all those scratches off by fire polishing it, and then when it's fresh before it sees the air, you can make a glass fiber which can be completely wound around and tied in a knot. So what are these glass fibers used for? Well, they're used for lots of things. They're used for fibers and fiberglass, so insulation. And those are very small fibers. And in fact, they're spun off like making wool. They're used for fibers in fiberglass materials, like the fiberglass materials in race cars. And those are longer fibers, but they're relatively low quality. Well, not low quality, but they're cheap. That's how you can make lots of them. But there's high-end fibers too. Fibers are used to transmit optical signals, fiber optics. And that's part of our telecommunication infrastructure. So telecommunications, there are people that do nothing but design fibers for telecommunications. They're also laser guides. Now I say, well, what do you need a laser guide for? For surgical application. You have a surgeon, and they can, for some applications, they don't use scalpels, but instead they use lasers. And they've got little pens, and down that pen is a fiber optic, and that fiber optic is used to go in and very precisely use a laser and either burn or cut through tissue. And all of these applications and all of these industries have lots of materials engineers involved. So this is another example of how structure is so important for controlling materials. So again, the fibers in this glass rod, exactly the same composition, just a different structure. I can't emphasize enough that the gloves, they stay in the kit because we need them for the demos. And these, once they're cool, I think it's possible even to break this off. We might be able to use these half pieces again, I don't know. Or maybe we can even take and weld them back together and use it in the next demo. I haven't really tested that yet. Quick comment about the glass rods. Because they are just a low-end silica glass and not pure silica, they need to go through an annealing in order to remove stresses. So when you take them out of the fire, that final end that's been melted is under a high stress. So if you take and you reheat it, they do crumble, sometimes not unexplosively. I'm not saying they always explode, but I had one that burst on me. So it's probably not a good idea for us to try to weld the glass rods back together because we don't have proper annealing, and it's not worth the risk of breakage.